All right, so apparently I'm in a yapping mood this week, and I want to try more of the new gear that I've got and some of the old gear that I haven't tried yet. So in one of my other videos, I said I wanted to try the lav mic for the Rode Wireless Pro. It has an internal thing. I think my head's cut off. Hopefully the quality's good. Maybe it's an improvement from this. Might fix some of the pops and the clicks and the tapping and whatnot. Also, I just don't want to hold something like this and clip this. It's heavy, it's cumbersome. Clip it on like my pants or whatever, and just kind of have a little thing here. I think that's fine for these kind of videos. I'm testing other things for this too, not just the audio. I'm testing something with the camera. The reason being is my main camera is a red Komodo, the first gen, and I love it. I love it to pieces. I love using it. One of the main things I love about it, which might seem simple, the battery is low on the iPad. There's just an app that lets me wirelessly monitor this, and it makes it really easy. I can trigger recording and start, stop, change the settings of the camera through this. It's really, really good. And I can do it through my phone, which makes this 1,000 times easier to do. The downside is, based on my last video, recording 35 minutes is 240 plus gigs. The cards I have are 256. That makes it a lot of data to record and store, and I not really want to keep all the raw stuff anyway. I'm going to make proxies or just keep the final videos that I'm going to make. Same with short films, but at the same time, it's still going to take a lot of time to capture. So what I'm doing today to test is I'm using, instead of the red code, which even then I was using the red code LQ. I didn't want to crop in because I'm shooting this with anamorphic lenses, so I didn't want to lose the width of the sensor. So I've switched over to ProRes, and I've dropped the resolution down to 2K. So this is 2K ProRes 422, not HQ. The difference being that if I shot it in 4K ProRes, even just the regular one, I think it gives me about an hour of recording for the 256 gig card. This gives me 4 hours. So little less demanding on hard drives and space, and just taking up the time as well to copy all that stuff over. If I record a 20-minute video, I don't have to wait 20 minutes to copy it over to my hard drives.
I'm very annoyed. I've already recorded this video now, and many things happened, including the audio didn't record at all. I plugged it in halfway through and it cut the audio, which is very weird. So I think you have to connected before recording or something. I don't know, but whatever. So the thing that I'm gonna test as well with these is I wanna see if I can recreate a book light. I wanna keep the footprint really, really low, because I think that would just be really cool to have something that can create a book light effect in just a very small amount of kit. I'm trying to min-max everything. I wanna get the most out of all my gear. I bought all this gear over the last several years. I finally have a good enough kit where I would say confidently I have enough for a one-man band or a small crew. I have pretty much everything you need to shoot a small film, and maybe then some, that I want to learn everything about and get the most out of before I start buying any other gear. So that's really why I'm making these videos again, and why I'm trying to like explore these different avenues. So I bought this thing on Prime Day. It's a new ear. I don't know how you're supposed to say it, new ear. I bought one of the umbrellas, a Parabolic Umbrella. I bought a 43-inch one. They did a bigger one that's like 62, 63. But I wanted to keep the footprint as small as I could, not just in terms of when it's packed down, but how much space it takes in a room. If I'm getting it as a book light, I want it kind of close as a large source. Shouldn't have to be that big. If I need something bigger, then I can set up a traditional book light. And I wanted something that would fill that purpose of maybe a small interview like this, or this style, or something that maybe would work on like close-ups and things like that. Because I'm very much a light spaces, not faces, so I want to light the whole space before I jump into anything else. And then as you move in closer, you start bringing in some extra lights to kind of shape it and control that light. So maybe this is something that I can include in that, where I can film a wide and then bring in something like this. So not using the Amaran F22C, the panel light, which I really love, but using just another one of these Godox VL150s. So if you've never seen a book light before, I'll just explain it really quickly. The name comes from it just looking like an open book, like this. So what you're typically doing is you're putting a light in between this kind of wedge, you're pointing it at one side, and it's bouncing that light back to the other side and through that onto your subject. So if the light was coming this direction towards the camera, I would take this light, I would point it this way towards the window. I would put a piece of diffusion like this, or a bounce material like this. The light would hit this, it would come back this way towards camera, and then another piece of diffusion would sit on this side, and that would be the then source. So you're creating a large source of light that creates really soft light that is double diffused and bounced, and it looks really, really pleasing and really, really good. But I want to try and recreate it in a very small way, and I want to see if I can do something similar in a really small footprint. So I just have this one light on a stand, like relatively cheap stand. You don't need anything as heavy duty as this, but I have bigger lights, so I wanted to make sure that it was safe. And then I'm going to take this umbrella, which is, as I said, a parabolic umbrella. So it has like like the silver side of a reflector dish. Where did it go? It has like a mirrored side on this too that helps with bouncing light. So these parabolic umbrellas have a similar material on the inside, and what you're doing is you're shooting the light into that, it's bouncing, and then it's coming back through this soft diffusion material. And you can see, it's a pretty big source. It's not huge. I didn't want the biggest one that you could get because I wanted a small footprint. I want to be able to get close to it, and if I really need, as I said, if I really need something bigger, I can make something bigger. And what it does is, I didn't even realize this until the first time I shot this, but this light actually does have like a hole through here that will actually let the softbox go through with this. Like so. I'm hoping I'm in focus, or you can see it. If you can't, it looks a little dark. It comes through this hole here, and what's happening is the light will then, if I turn this on, the light shoots inside. You have this little gap here. It also has a zipper, if I rotate this around. And then I want to pull this through more so that the light is encased. If you want to make it brighter, you can also add the reflector dish, this thing, on the inside of this, and it will help really kind of amplify the light that you're getting bounced off the inside of the umbrella and then back out through this soft diffusion material. So right now I have it set to 10%. And from my testing earlier, that was like kind of a good level. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this around to like 45 degrees. Yeah, somewhere like that. But you can see that it's giving a really nice soft light pointed right towards me. I can obviously make it brighter, so I'm going to take this up to 20%. And that's probably too much. That's probably a little too intense for the size of light. It's becoming a little harder. You can see on my face here, the shadows are a little bit stronger. So it's not giving as soft a light because it's just kind of becoming really intense and it's quite close. It also is kind of overpowering and it feels very lit. It feels like an interview situation, which isn't bad for this, but it doesn't feel very natural. It doesn't feel like it's like soft light coming from these windows. There you go, so that's 15. And that's looking somewhat okay. It's probably a little too bright still. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clip the diffusion, that sheer. So I have another one over here. What I have is these kind of sheer curtains. And these are really great for set dressing as well, not just for lighting modification, because what they do is they help scatter the light and act like diffusion, which is great. But also you can put them over windows and it will look natural. So you're actually adding light modifiers in the frame while you're shooting, and it looks completely natural and organic to the scene and getting that benefit of softening the light as well. So I'm gonna double diffuse this. I'm gonna fold it in half. Not perfect at all, but is definitely doing something. Yeah, so you can see, I mean, it's sticking out because of the umbrella, but it's softening that light significantly more than what we had before. You can see if I go up to 20% again, you can see the shadows on my face are a lot softer, right? So you just want to then find the right height for it. It probably wants to come up a little bit more. It probably wants to maybe, I don't think it needs to go around. I think 45 degrees is actually pretty good. So the idea of this again is the light from behind me is motivating the source, right? You can make an assumption that there's maybe a big window here. You can see these windows, you can see the one behind me, and you can make that assumption that there is a window right here that is lighting me. Or The other assumption is that that light is wrapping around and lighting me as well. So if I turn it off, you can see the difference of before and after, right? It's pretty dark in here. There's not a lot. Obviously the frame on the anamorphic is kind of flared up because I'm shooting right into a bright source, but you can see that it's pretty dark in this room. There is ambient light, but it's not as much as it seemed with the light. So then adding this back, it suddenly feels a little more like natural, right? Or believable. And I am shooting straight on, but what you would typically want to do is shoot into the shadow side. So that way you're getting a little bit more depth and dimensionality into the face. So if I turned this way a little bit, that would probably aid in that. Obviously I'm then facing that source, but you could bring it around. The only reason I can't take it any further is my couch is there and it has like the shades, like the L shape. So I can't push the light any further without putting it on the couch, and I'm not gonna do that for safety reasons. But it gives you, it just gives you a really nice, soft, large source of light. And as I said, this newer thing, it was like $55 Canadian. I don't know what that is in US, maybe like 35, under 40. The light, you could use whatever. Again, the light is at 20% power. If I drop it down to 15, but even at 20% power, if you had something like the Godox SL60W, like I talked in another video, if you had a light like that and you had it 50% power, you're getting the same output, right? It's not battery powered, it can plug into a wall, but you're getting the same output of this and you can achieve this same look. And again, if you add the reflector dish onto it, that is gonna amplify that power, so you might not even need as much as 50% power, right? So using just a cheap parabolic umbrella, you're able to create a really effective book light that does a pretty decent job. Like, it's giving me the soft light that I'm looking for. It's giving me some nice wraparound light and fall off. It's lighting the space pretty well, and then adding just the shears on it. But I've just used a single clip and I'm just clipping it at the top. It's not covering the whole thing, but you could clip one or two more of these and cover it. You could put it on another stand and have it stick out and like be in front of it truly, and that will soften it too. It just depends on how much space you have, right? My goal with this is just a single light stand that has everything on it. Again, it's that min-maxing of getting the most out of all my equipment by learning it as best I can. I don't want to buy any more gear. I have a pretty decent amount of gear at this point, and I want to get the most out of it and also have the smallest footprint. If I needed to do an interview setup, I could bring one light stand, and some sheer curtains in this umbrella, right? Aside from the camera and other things, but I could fit it all into the trunk of a car. I don't want to spend 2 hours breaking 50 things down and spend an hour at the start of the day putting it all together. I want to take everything out of the box and have it set up within 5-10 minutes and spend the rest of the time finding the angle, finding the framing, and dialing things in to make them look good. I want to maximize my time, not just maximize my gear. But that's it. It's just a sheer curtain held on by this little clip right here. That's all it is. It's just one thin sheer curtain, umbrella, a parabolic umbrella. The inside, you can tighten it around, you can zip it so you can have a bigger light in there if you need to. You can fit the reflector dish in there. It doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's relatively lightweight. Like, it's super easy to pick up. If I just want to move it, I would say this weighs, the most is the light. It probably weighs like 6, maybe 7 pounds. That's kind of it. As long as you know how to like use lighting and you get good at lighting and like refine your skills in that way, you don't need to worry about upgrading your camera until much later on, unless like it dies or you need to do it for another reason. You don't need expensive gear when it comes to the cameras, or even when it comes to lighting. Learn how to shape light, learn how to use it to get the desired look. As I said in the other video, when you buy bigger gear, more expensive gear, it's not that it will make you better at doing your job as a cinematographer. It will just make achieving the look you're going for easier. What you should do is learn how to get that look regardless of the gear, so that you really have a good understanding of it. And then you'll also save money on the gear that you buy, because you're not wasting your money on things you think you need, because you know exactly what you need. So I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.